Okay, so in this video I will comment briefly the logic of essence. The beginning. Here's the conceptual structure of the Encyclopedia. We have logic, being, essence, concept, nature, and spirit. And I have made videos already on the sphere of being. I will put the link in the description. And in this part I will comment the first part of the logic of essence with all the logical determinations that unfold in the process. And I will comment. About what is the logic. I advise that you should watch my videos, but in case you stumble upon this video, I simplify briefly. Speculative logic is ontotheological, namely, onto means being, theo means God, and so speculative logic is ontotheological. These are the determinations of being. What is being? What is the world? What are things? What are objects? Etc. Theo means God, and logical means rationality and speech. It's the logos. Ontotheological. God is being, and God is reason or rationality, and this is God is a process of self-development. So, yeah. People may seem surprised to hear that God is being, because that's a very disappointing view at first. God is being, does this mean that this piece of paper is God? It's not the entirety of God, but it is within God, because we are all within God. And I am, if you are watching this, you are, so we share being in common, so we share God in common, because God is being. Yeah, but as Hegel would say, being is not just being, because being is nothing, and which brings forth a dialectical process of self-determination, that which I discussed in my videos about being, that I put in the description below. But it's a process of self-determination, of giving itself a content, which are first the logical categories, then the determinations of essence, and then the determinations of the concept. And this process of unfolding of the categories is the mind of God that I am trying to recover. I'm trying to identify my mind with the mind of God to come back to reason, maybe. You can find the illustration and explanation in the videos that I have put. And yeah, what is true of God, which is the whole of being, is also true of objects, singular objects, and I will illustrate in this video with, for instance, I bought flowers. I will illustrate the categories of essence, which are actually not categories. Categories is in the realm of being. They are Reflexionsbestimmungen, determinations of reflection. So, yeah. I comment paragraph per paragraph. Paragraph, we are in the Encyclopedia, so it's the simplified version of logic, so it's really a very simplified view, but I will illustrate how let's call this the categories, but these are actually Reflexionsbestimmungen, flow out of the other. So, in essence, which is Wesen, I write this, the video will be a little longer, but I write the word in German so that you might Wesen, it's the essence. In the realm of essence, the determinations are relative. They are in unity, they are opposed, but in a unity. It's relative. Whereas in the realm of being, they were immediate. And in the realm of the concept, they come back out of their mediation, which is the realm of essence, back into immediacy. So that's the Trinitarian movement. Okay. Being through its own negativity, because it has been shown that being contains nothing within it, that's what drives the process forward in the realm of being, mediates itself with itself. So let us assume, that's not really to be taken seriously, but we have being with negativity within being, and this negativity exteriorizes itself and produces a relation, and this reciprocal relation is the realm of essence, where the determinations are relative. That's not really well done, but it's just to illustrate. So being, which is fully determined, is measure, but measure contains its own negativity within itself, which is the trespassing of measure, and this relation to self in its exteriority is how the realm of essence comes into being. No, comes into essence, precisely. So being is now in relation to self, and I identify as God, as being and as thought, and I am in relation to myself. You are a part of me. And this is the realm of what is gesetztes, which means set, and vermitteltes, namely mediated. So the realm of essence is the realm of mediation, and gesetzt sein, which means to be set. The essence appears. I will develop later, but that's the brief introduction. The essence appears, which in German mean shine. So the essence is not separate from being, but precisely I will show that what we call being in the realm of being, this, how do you call this in English? This flower, how do you call this? This pack of flowers? No, that's not a pack. These flowers are not. They are the manifestation of the essence of flowerhood, to speak like Plato, but I will develop later. So, in the realm of essence, things are mediated. And that's why we differentiate in the realm of essence the things that are and the things that appear, and these are phenomena. In the realm of physics, physicists say that the world is phenomenal in the sense that the object that we perceive, this individual self that you see, is not being, but it's a phenomenon. I am, this physical existence of mine is a manifestation of notably the laws of physics, but you are also, and the physical world is a phenomenal world in the sense that it is the phenomenal manifestation of the four fundamental forces of physics, gravity, which is not strictly speaking a force, the electromagnetic force, and the weak and strong interactions. So, yeah, it will be shown that the realm of essence is the realm which contains the categories of the sciences. And the realm of essence is also the realm of, one could say to illustrate, the realm of the mirror, namely what appears in the realm of essence is a reflection. And to reflect in the terms of thought means to go from the immediacy of the object. What is this? This is a book. If I reflect upon the object, I can reflect about its content in terms of purely intellectual thinking, but also upon its existence as a physical object, and think that it is a collection of atoms and molecules held together by the electromagnetic force, which is attracted by gravity, etc., etc. So this is a reflection. There is the immediacy of the book, and through a thinking activity, I go beyond, I reflect upon it, I think, I transform this immediate object into a reflected object. But then we have two objects, and that's a problem, and that's why speculative logic tries to go beyond the duality. Yeah. Also, philosophy. It is often said that philosophy seeks to grasp the essence of things. The philosophers are not satisfied with the way things are, because precisely the things are not, they appear, and the philosopher wants to know what is behind at first. What is the essence of the world, the essence of the universe? What is the essence of God? What is the essence of whatever? So, in the realm of essence, we have I can skip, how to erase. Yeah, we have. My video would be a little longer, but I think it's better with illustration. So we have the essence, and we have immediacy, which is the realm of being, but in the realm of essence, what is immediate is no longer immediate because it is no longer being, it is essence, so it is mediated through the relationship with the essence. That's how immediacy becomes mediation in the realm of essence. That's just the fundamental determinations. All things have an essence. For instance, the essence of man, as opposed to, not man as human being, but man as a masculine, as opposed to the essence of woman. What is womanhood? What is a real woman? When we say a real woman, we think unconsciously she manifests the essence of womanhood. A real man is a man who behaves as in accordance with the essence of manhood. And in this day and age, we live in an era which rejects what is called essentialism, namely the idea that people are the manifestation of their essence. Because it is believed that it negates freedom. The idea that all women share in common the essence of womanhood, that all whites share the essence of whiteness, that the Jews share the essence of the eternal Jew. This is the essentialization of Jews, etc., etc. This is the famous quote by Sartre, the French philosopher, which says that existence precedes essence. So things are, and once they have been, we categorize them and we predicate them an essence. But Hegel says, no, it's the opposite. The essence comes first, and then existence. So, yeah. Okay, and the religions which envision God as strictly the essence are the Jewish religion and the Muslim religion. They envision God as the essence of the world, as the Lord, Allah, and Yahweh for the Jews, and as a supreme power, which is well beyond and above the phenomenal world. He is inaccessible, unreachable. The Christians, on the contrary, they do not refute that God is the Lord, the Father, the power, etc. But in the Christian religion, precisely, God makes himself man. God becomes man. It is the Christian revelation that God has made himself man. And this is why Judaism, Islam, and Christianity are opposed on this perspective, namely that for the Jews and the Muslims, God is well above the world. He's way beyond. He doesn't interfere with the world, so to speak. So, yeah. Okay, now I will illustrate with Platonic examples with mathematics. That's why I brought a table board. It would be simpler. Plato said, no one should enter my academia if he is not gifted in geometry. So geometry was the prerequisite to philosophizing, according to Plato, because to think about the essence of the geometrical figures enabled one to elevate oneself in the realm of pure thought. And I will illustrate. If I draw sorry, it doesn't work. Yeah, I draw triangles. Okay, triangle. Here, I don't know how you call this in English, the three sides are equal. Here, these two sides are equal. Here, it's a square triangle. And here, it's a random triangle. So, that's just to illustrate what the essence is. If I try to think about these triangles, here we have essential characteristics of a... I should have checked the vocabulary, but I will not begin the video again. So if you are an English-speaking person, you know how this is called, the free equilateral, equisided equilateral triangle. Here this is isosceles triangle, and here square triangle, I guess, and here average random triangle. So here this triangle has unessential characteristics, but also essential characteristics. What is unessential is the size, because I could draw a slightly bigger triangle. So here the differences are unessential between this one and this one, but the essential characteristics, namely that the three angles are equal and the three sides are equal, and probably I don't know how to call it in English, that they cross in the same point. This is an essential characteristic of equilateral triangles. I can draw 10, 100, 1000 equilateral triangles. They will all have the same essential characteristics. They will all manifest the essence of an equilateral triangle. But then the determinations of quantity, namely the measure of the sides of the triangle, can be indifferent, but the degree of the angles will always be 180. All the three sides will always be equal. So these are essential characteristics of what an equilateral triangle is. Here, isosceles, that's the same thing. I can draw another. These two triangles are very different. They differ in unessential or inessential characteristics, but their essential characteristics, namely that two sides of the same length are equal. This is the essence, but the essence can only grasp through a purely cognitive process. You cannot see, if you elevate yourself in the realm of pure thought, the quantitative determinations of this triangle, namely the size and the size and the angles at the base, they can be indifferently different in an indefinite number of ways. So in order to elevate yourself in the realm of pure thought, that's what Plato would think. You have to think about the isosceles. I'm not sure that's how you call this in English, but you get the idea. What it is in its essence, independently of the shape, the length, etc., of the particular existing triangle that you draw on your cardboard. So yeah, and here the same. I can draw as many square triangles as I want. They will all have unessential determinations which are different. The size, but the essential characteristics, namely that there's a right angle and that the square of the hypotenuse is equal to the square of the two sides, will always be the same. These are the essential characteristics of a square triangle. So that's just to illustrate. I will not make a lecture on mathematics. You get the idea. And then if you take an average triangle, the essence of a triangle in general is not the right angle, the equality of the side. It's just that it is a geometric figure with three sides. So that's just to illustrate. That's basic mathematics, but it can help teach you, if you are a beginner, the logical determinations, and a little bit also about philosophy, because Plato was not only interested in squares and circles and triangles, but he wanted to grasp the essence of things. And the difference between Plato and Hegel and Aristotle is that Hegel said the idea, what Plato called the ideas or the forms, which is the essence, has to be made manifest. It has to exist, to come into actuality, Wirklichkeit. That comes later, but what Hegel reproaches to Plato is namely that Plato deals with pure abstractions, which are true in their universality, but Hegel says the universal has to particularize himself and to singularize himself and to make himself manifest eventually. So, yeah. And also, I will take the globe. In non-Euclidean geometry, you can draw triangles whose measure of the free angles are more than 180. So if I drew a triangle going from here to there, the free angles would be, I think, 270 degrees. So what I said about the essence of triangles is only true of Euclidean geometrics. And also, here's a little bit of Hegelian rationality. I will simplify, but okay, no, that's not very well designed. Okay, I made very small lines. Hegel says basically that a circle can be envisioned as an infinite series of very small straight lines, because if you go on a very small level, let us imagine that this is a circle. Actually, the points are not disconnected, but instead of having a circle, you can have an infinite amount of straight lines. So that's why Hegel says that geometry is the doctrine of der Verstand, but the doctrine of reason turns everything into kind of its opposite. So yeah, that's just to illustrate that in non-Euclidean geometry you can have other determinations. So yeah, that's just the introduction to the concept of essence. Okay, now we have in the realm of essence the relation to self, because it is mediated, so the essence is in relation to itself. This is reflection in self, as opposed to the immediacy. Being is in relation to itself immediately. The essence is also in relation to itself, but through the mediation of itself, through the separation of itself. And this is identity, relation to self. And then, if we take from the essence the in-sich sein, which is different from the an-sich sein, the in-sich sein would be inside self, whereas an-sich would be in itself. It's kind of identical but different, nonetheless. It becomes essential, but it has the negative of himself within itself, so a relation to an other, which is the unessential. And I will again illustrate. These two equilateral triangles, they are identical to the eternal ID of the equilateral triangle, but they are different to the eternal ID because the eternal ID has no specific quantitative determination. It has properties, namely that it is a geometric figure with three sides which are of the same length, and three angles which measure 180 degree, but it has no length. The eternal idea of the triangle, according to Plato, has no length, whereas these two triangles that I've drawn have a given determinate quantitative measure of their sides. So they are both identical to the ID, but they are also different. So they are identical and different, and this is the realm of essence. Okay. So, yeah, and the realm of essence contains the categories of the sciences. So, let us begin with identity. The essence appears in itself, scheint in sich, scheinen, to appear in itself. So it is a relation to self. That's what I have just illustrated with the triangle. So the essence is in relation to itself, and God is the essence, and God is in relation to himself. I identify with this essence as my mind, if you will, and I am in relation to myself. The determinations of essence are essential determinations, and that's why in ordinary classical logic they can be predicated, attributed to all subjects. And if the essence is in relation to itself, if the essence is identical with itself, that's the reason why in classical Aristotelian logic, and here it's really important because otherwise one cannot understand speculative logic. In classical Aristotelian logic, one of the basic laws of thought is that A equals A. A is identical with itself. That's the basic determination of thought. For der Verstand. I will write. Verstand is the understanding. A equals A. But if we say A equals A, we say nothing. If I say a man is a man, God is God, the earth is the earth, a pen is a pen, I don't say anything. I might as well say nothing at all. And another law of thought is that A cannot be A and not A at the same time. But what we see in the West today with transgender people, that's an attempt to transcend the rules of ordinary logic. A man is a man, a woman is a woman. No, the transgender, they are very Hegelian. They say a man can also be a woman. So the transgender are a manifestation in the realm of anthropology of an attempt to transcend the contradiction of classical logic and to make Hegel's logic manifest, so to speak. Because and also the distinction between Christianity and paganism. Both say that God is not just God and then man is not just man, but the Christians say that God has made himself man. That's the revelation of the Christian religion, that God became human through Christ, as envisioned in the Christian religion. And the pagans say that they can become divine by identifying with the gods. So the pagan movement is a movement upward, and the Christian movement is a movement downward. But in both these religions, the divine is identified within oneself. Whereas, as I showed earlier, for the Jews and the Muslims, the divine is the essence well above the realm of the finite. So, yeah. Okay. Also, self-consciousness. Self-consciousness is when I say I am, I think, I am in relation to myself. And every thinking entity is a self-consciousness. And that's what differentiates humans who thinking humans, from nature and from animals. Nature doesn't think, or rather nature thinks herself or thinks itself through humans. Humans are the self-consciousness of nature. Yeah, so self-consciousness is relation to self, but it is also difference. I can think of myself as different from myself. I can make introspection, I can reflect upon my inner thought, I can distinguish my transcendental self, which I identify with the mind of God, and my empirical self, which is just this individual with my psychology, history, personality, etc., etc., and I can distinguish the two. And that's what philosophers have been doing since Descartes. Okay, then, because identity is relation to self, it is a relation, so there is a negativity between self and self. So there is a negative relation to self, and this is what we call difference. But here the difference is not the same as in the realm of being, where we had Bestimmtheit and limit. That was the difference between Dasein and Nichtsein, for instance, or between something and something else. Here it is a negation as relation, namely its difference, and mediation, it is the identity which mediates itself with itself, so identity which differentiates itself from itself, and the absolute is defined formally as the identity of identity and difference. I can only become infinite by identifying myself with that which is not myself, with nature and with other finite minds. Sorry, I can only reach the infinite by convincing another mind that he and I are one in spirit, so to speak. Yeah. And then we have the immediate difference. So the categories flow from one another. Identity, difference, and then we have diversity, which in German is Verschiedenheit, which could also be distinction, but it's Verschiedenheit. Verschiedenheit. Yeah, which is immediate difference. And here I can have, let us remain in the realm of mathematics. These two triangles are verschieden, they are diverse. And in order to identify them, because they are different and diverse, we have to use the categories of equality and inequality. And in order to determine in which ways, according which features, these two triangles are equal or unequal, we have to put them into relationship and to compare them to a third hypothetical triangle, which would be the comparison between the two. In what sense are they unequal? Because they have different measure, different angles, but they are equal in the sense that both are triangles, both are geometrical figures, determinations of space, etc., etc. So that's how we stumbled upon the categories of equality and inequality. And equal things, equal citizens, they are different. Citizens can be equal only to the extent that they are different. If there was only one citizen, I'm not sure that he would be equal to himself. And inequality between the rich and the poor, the privileged and the unprivileged, is a relation. When we speak about the rich and the poor, we put them into relation through a third term which help them compare, namely wealth. The rich and the poor are unequal in wealth. So that's the third term which might help compare. So yeah. And one of the other laws of thought brought forth by Leibniz is that all things are diverse. They are verschieden, they are distinct. There are no two triangles which are identical, because all things are diverse. Yeah. So yeah. And then I took a note about Emma Watson. Plato would say that when looking at Emma Watson, he would see beauty. Hopefully Plato had good taste in women. The Greek women were said to be very beautiful, but I'm not sure that they were as beautiful as Emma Watson. Plato would say Emma Watson is the manifestation in the realm of the senses of the eternal idea of beauty, and it is a trick to attract the body which is attracted by beauty, to help the soul. The body thinks it is attracted by the physical appearance of this woman, but actually it's the soul who is attracted by the beauty which must be thought about by conceptualizing and elevating oneself into the realm of pure thought. And the reason why Emma Watson is very beautiful is probably because of mathematical proportions of her face, the symmetry, the shape of the eyes, the nose, the beauty of the skin, etc. So there are mathematical reasons, but then already we are conceptualizing. Yeah. Yeah. And then here comes the tricky part. We have now the difference in itself, which is kind of the real difference, the positive and the negative. Things are not only identical or different, they are positive and negative. And here it's, I would say, a fundamental determination. I will illustrate. Fundamental determination comes after. In a difference between the positive and the negative, which is a logical determination, the two moments, this is an essential difference, namely relation, identity difference, because something positive is what it is to the extent that it is not what it is not. So they are in a conceptual unity. Each is what it is to the extent that it is not the other. And here I will make a list of illustrations. I write them and then I speak as I say. The West and the East are in a conceptual unity because there is no West without the East. The North and the South are in a conceptual unity. In economic terms, it's said that the northern countries are rich and the southern countries are poor. In philosophy, it is said that the Western countries are very speculative, very complicated, and the Eastern are more focused on wisdom, whereas the Western philosophy is considered to be useless speculation. We have anti-racism and racism. A lot of people wonder why the anti-racists become anti-white, because anti-racism and racism are in a conceptual unity. This is a joke. We have, of course, Hegel and the anti-Hegelian. That's why Hegel's philosophy includes all the philosophies within his system, including the post-Hegelian philosophy, because I put Hegel in the positive, I should have put it in the negative, but Hegel and the anti-Hegelians are in a conceptual unity. And the unity of Hegel and the anti-Hegelian is precisely Hegel's philosophy that I try to develop in cultural Hegelianism. And in the realm of economics or finance, credit and debt are in a conceptual unity. If you borrow money, you owe money to a creditor, the one who lends you the money. So for him, that's a credit. He has a credit upon you, and you are his debtor, right? I'm not sure of the vocabulary, but you get the idea. So for every debt, there's a credit. And that's why I'm indebted to you. I owe you my life, I owe you this, so it means I trust you in a sense, because I give you a lot of credit. And here I will illustrate with the globe. If you are in the West and you go westward, that's the historical movement of the conquest of the United States. If you go to the west of the United States and you keep going west, eventually you will stumble to Japan, which from the starting point of Europe was the east. So if you go full around the globe in a westward direction, you stumble upon the east and then to the west again. And the same with the north and the south. If you keep getting south, you are in the north, you go south, you continue, then you go up north and you go back to the north. So that's why the globe is round, because it was made by God. But then the physicist, one may say, yeah, the Earth is not strictly round because at the two poles there are the magnetic influences, so the Earth is partly flatly shaped or kind of unbalanced at the two poles because of the magnetic field. But yeah, broadly speaking, the Earth is round. Those who say the Earth is flat, they should study speculative logic. Yeah, and then another law of thought, of classical logic, namely that everything is essentially differentiated, which is translated by the fact that of two opposed predicates, only one can be attributed to something. For instance, you are either hot or cold, you cannot have a cold fire or hot ice. That's the law of traditional logic. But here, I picked up a few illustrations to illustrate the point, and also I should have prepared the book. I will just go get the book that I am searching, a book by Evola about the metaphysical traditions of the East and West, and this is where the video becomes really culturally Hegelian. I'm sorry. Yeah. East and West by Evola. That's a very culturally Hegelian book because, as I've shown later, the East and the West are in a conceptual unity. And I picked up a few songs to illustrate the unity of the opposites, namely the question of love. Yeah. No, first I will begin with the question of identity and difference. It is believed that identity, what is identical to itself, is good or positive, and what is difference is negative or bad. And for instance, in terms of sociology, the people who behave according to the respected laws of society are considered to be decent, good citizens, and those who distantiate themselves from the norm are considered to be dangerous or freaks or criminals, etc. But it's partly true, but there can be also people who are kind of a little bit detached from society because they are a little bit different. And here are the songs of the lyrics of the song "So Am I" by Ava Max. Do you ever feel like a misfit? Everything inside you is dark and twisted. Oh, but it's okay to be different because, baby, so am I. And God could say, it's okay to be different because so am I. Do you ever feel like an outcast? So those who are differentiated from identity and the positive, they are outcasts, basically. So that's why difference has a negative view. You don't have to fit into the format. We are the sinners and the blessings. So sin and blessing are the positive and the negative of one another, but here in this song they are in a conceptual unity. You're king and you're queen, you're strong and you're weak, you're bound to be free. You're bound but so free. So that's a very Hegelian song. And yeah, it is widely believed in, here I'm talking strictly in the realm of sociology, that to be identical with everyone else is positive, it's good. But people, when they are teenagers, they want to differentiate themselves to assert their identity. An entrepreneur, a businessman, wants to differentiate his company, his business, from all the other, and to give itself an identity. To differentiate himself, to distinguish himself, makes himself remarkable. You can only innovate, that's capitalism, you can only innovate by differentiating yourself from your competitors, and that's what gives your brand or your business or your company its own identity. If you do the same thing as all the others, you will be mediocre. You might have success, but you will be mediocre. If you take risks as a capitalist investor, you will differentiate yourself. You might fail miserably. That's part of capitalism. But you also might have tremendous successes. And all the great inventors, innovators, businessmen, they are all different in a sense. So, yeah. Now, another example of the unity of the opposites. Because the philosophy of Hegel is the philosophy of the conceptual unity, but nonetheless differentiation of the opposites. Love can be toxic, and here's what Britney says in her song Toxic. Baby, can't you see I'm calling? A guy like you should wear a warning. It's dangerous. Yeah. You're dangerous. I'm loving it. Too high, can't come down. Losing my head, spinning round and round. You're toxic. I'm slipping under with a taste of a poison paradise. A poison paradise is a very Hegelian idea. We have also a song by Lana Del Rey, Dark Paradise. We have a song by Marilyn Manson, Tainted Love. That's divine love, in a way. Here's what Britney says. You're toxic, I'm slipping under with a taste of a poison paradise. I'm addicted to you. Don't you know that you're toxic? So that's a very Hegelian love declaration. And Marilyn Manson says, sometimes I feel I've got to run away, I've got to get away from the pain you drive in the heart of me. The love we share seems to go nowhere. I run to you. Once I run to you, now I run from you. This tainted love you've given, I'll give you all a boy could give you. Take my tears, and that's not nearly all. I love you, though you hurt me so. So God could say to mankind, I love you, though you hurt me so. And mankind could reply to God, we love you too, but you hurt us also. So yeah, that's Hegelian love. Basically. Yeah. And I continue. So that's also the another illustration is polarity in physics with positive and negative charges. They are in a conceptual unity, and the reason why there is electromagnetism with positive and negative charges in electricity and north and south poles in magnetism or attractive and repulsive forces is derived from logic. We had attraction and repulsion in the realm of being, and we have positive and negative, which gives polarity in the realm of essence, and that's why the atoms have there is a repulsive and attractive force in the sphere of gravity and at the atomic level, and also there is the electromagnetic polarity, and the relationship between man and woman is the relationship of the positive to the negative, and they are in a conceptual unity. A man is a man to the extent that he is not a woman, and the opposite is true as well. Yeah. Yeah. Also, here's a remark in the Encyclopedia: unorganic nature, namely physical and chemical nature, is the opposite of organic nature. They are in a conceptual unity. That's why biology and physics and chemistry are in a conceptual unity, and spirit or mind is the opposite of nature. That's why nature appears to the mind as an other, which is actually the reflection of itself. That's why nature is the reflection of the mind of God. And here I will draw the illustration of a Christian relationship to the opposites. About good and evil. You have the opposition between good and evil. If you do evil, that's a sin. You feel guilt and remorse and shame, which drives you with the will to do good, and it is only by doing good that you can find redemption. So that's Christianity in a nutshell. The guy who designed Christianity was pretty smart because he implemented in the mind of Christian the idea that if you sin, you will feel guilty, which will force you to try to do good in order to find redemption. So, yeah, that's the story of Christian morality illustrated on a dashboard. In truth, it's a little bit more complicated than just that, but that's illustration. Yeah. Then Hegel says, what the world is moved by, what moves the world is the contradiction, namely the unity of opposed determinations which are in conflict and which try to solve the conflict by developing themselves. The positive is verschieden, namely diverse for itself, verschieden für sich, and in relation to another, so the positive is for itself and in relation to another, but the negative has the same determination. The negative is distinct for itself and it has its other in the positive, so they both have the same determination, so there's a contradiction, and that's why the logical process evolves and goes to the ground, which can be translated as the foundation or the Grund. The ground is an English word. The German word is Grund. In English it's ground, or foundation in a sense of fundamental determination. Yeah, and the positive is the ground of the negative, and the ground is the truth, and the reverse is also true, and one is the ground of the other. So the ground, the foundation, is the unity of identity and difference in a more developed way. And this is the logical law of classical logic, which says that everything has its ground, which can be translated sometimes as everything has its reason. Ground can also mean reason. It means that everything is founded upon something else, has its foundation in something else. Everything has its reason to be. That's the argument of Leibniz. Sufficient reason, or zureichend Grund in German. And the illustration is that freedom is the ground of law. It's the foundation of law. The reason why human beings have legislation, constitutions, law, and also morality and religion is because they are thinking subjects, and therefore they are free. Actually, they are not. Human beings are not free, but let us assume that they are. It is because there is freedom in the human mind that morality, constitution, and religion emerge. Animals have no laws, no religion, and no morality. The American Constitution is the ground of all the laws which derive from the Constitution. It is the foundation of the laws voted and enacted by the Senate. And there can be anti-constitutional laws, namely laws which derive from the ground, but which are which are not in inadequation with the fundamental ground, with the American Constitution. Because the foundation, or the Grund, or the ground, contains in itself what it is founded, what is founded by the ground. The illustration is that in order to build a house, you need to build the foundations, but not just the foundation, you have to build the house upon the foundations eventually. So the ground, the foundation contains the necessity to bring forth what is founded by the ground. The foundation of the house have to bring about the house eventually. And here in the sphere of Western metaphysics, Deconstructionism, the leftist ideology in the 60s, Derrida, Foucault, Deleuze, all these people, they were the deconstructionists. They tried to negate the fundamentals, the ground of metaphysics, to eradicate metaphysics completely. That's why they deconstruct. Like if you want to deconstruct a house, you can do this brick by brick, brick by boring brick, or negate the ground and the house will collapse. And this is what has brought forth cultural Marxism eventually, which is derived. Cultural Marxism is founded upon the negation of the foundation of Western metaphysics, which had already been deconstructed by Heidegger partly, Nietzsche, Sartre, the analytic philosopher, Freud, Marx, etc. But the deconstructionists of the 60s and 70s, they really negated the ground, and by negating the ground of metaphysics, they founded unconsciously or consciously cultural Marxism. And cultural Hegelianism is the attempt to rebuild the ground and to rebuild metaphysics, which is logic. So to bring back logic into reality. It had never disappeared, but to make logic become conscious. So the essence is the appearance and mediation in itself. So it goes out of the grounds, the essence goes out of itself while remaining in relation to itself, and that's what brings forth existence. I said already, law, legislation exist in human societies because of freedom, self-consciousness, thought. The ground brings forth the existence. That's the reason why man exists. Because all these determinations are determinations of God. God is the ground, and man is the existence. So man exists, and existence is very difficult because to exist means to be separated from the ground, which is God, to be differentiated from God, while nonetheless remaining identical with God. That's why existence is difficult, and to exist means to suffer and to try to go back to the ground, to rejoin the ground which is God by a cognitive process. And also it says that a ground can be found for pretty much everything, a reason, a ground or a reason. Maybe there's the expression in English which says a groundless accusation. If you accuse someone without a reason, without a cause, without a ground, that's not justified. That's unfair. If you accuse someone in a court, in the judicial system, lawyers accuse the opposing parties. They have to have evidence, to have a ground for founding their accusation. If you say you did this or that, you stole this or that, with no ground to justify what you accuse the other of having done, that's a groundless. An accusation without reason. That's not. Yeah, but Hegel says you can find a reason for pretty much everything. And then all the existences, the things which exist, are relative to one another. This is that which brings forth a world of interconnected existences. Every existence is the ground of another existence, and every existence exists because it has another ground. If you are watching this video, the reason why, the ground, the foundation of why you are watching this is because maybe you have an interest in Hegel's philosophy, and the reason why I made this video is because I want to share my knowledge. So my ground, my reason for making this video is the reason why this video exists. And the reason why you watch this video is because you are interested, so it's a reciprocal determination. And also it says that existence comes from Latin existere, ex means out. Deus ex machina, ex means to go out. So to exist, existence is traumatic, because to exist means to be separated from God, but at the same time to be in unity with God through the mind. Yeah. And what exists, and every determination that I bring forth is logically produced by the previous. So we had positive and negative, identity and difference, ground and existence, and now we have what the German called das Ding, which is the thing, and the Ding-an-sich, thing would be Ding, and something would be etwas. And these are very different determinations, because if you watch my videos about being, something is just etwas. It's a very poor abstract determination of being, whereas das Ding is the result of the entire logical process at this moment. Namely, it contains many determinations within itself. All the determinations of being, plus essence versus unessential, identity and difference, distinction, positive, negative, opposition, ground, existence. So the thing, and not just something. This is not just the vocabulary which changes. The entire logical structure. Das Ding is I will call this das Ding. And sorry, I just take off my jacket because it's exhausting to do philosophy, but it will be more exhausting in the future. I have no doubt about this. Yeah, the Ding-an-sich is a concept which is very familiar in the philosophy of Kant. Hegel says it is the reflection in self. So we have das Ding, which is the result of the process that I have just talked about. But the Ding-an-sich is just the moment of in itself, so to speak, without the external moment. But Hegel says every concept that we have found during the development of the logical process can be considered and thought of an sich, in itself, with the negation of Anderssein. I talked about Emma Watson. Beauty in itself, or the essence of beauty, means in itself as different from Anderssein, or Sein für anders, or essence versus unessential, or difference. And here we have the Ding-an-sich, which is the moment in the philosophy of Kant. And if I had to illustrate, this is what is called the thing in itself. The philosophy of Kant basically says that we have a world of phenomena this is the world of phenomena, trees, houses, men, the sun, and the Ding-an-sich, these are the phenomena. This is what we perceive with our senses, and the Ding-an-sich, according to Kant, is what stands beyond the phenomena in some unknown region. This is very abstract, and this would be kind of God or the absolute for Kant. But Kant says we can only know the phenomena, namely we can have scientific determinations about the physical attributes of men, houses, trees, and the sun, the laws of nature, and eventually the chemical and biological determinations, and these obey laws, and we can know these laws. But what make these phenomena manifest, what Kant calls the Ding-an-sich, Kant says it is unknowable. We cannot say anything about this. And because the faculties of our mind, according to Kant, are limited to the realm of the phenomena. This is the end of Western metaphysics, basically, when Kant says we cannot know God or the absolute or the ultimate reality which makes all these phenomena manifest, we can only know the phenomena. And Hegel says, no, I disagree. Because the whole phenomenal world, as will be shown in later videos in the development, is the manifestation of the Ding-an-sich, because the Ding-an-sich precisely does not remain an-sich, God or the absolute or ultimate reality, does not remain hidden in some unknown place, but manifests itself, exists, goes out of itself, differentiates itself from itself, reveals itself. And that's why the world is the revelation of God. That's why nature is the projection of the mind of God. So yeah, we just to talk about Emma Watson, we always find the same determinations in the logic, but they are always more determined, wealthier, richer. Namely, in the realm of being, we had beauty an sich as opposed to sein für anders, and now we have the essence of beauty versus the unessential characteristics, and now we have beauty in itself and the phenomenal appearance, or the existence of beauty versus the ground or the foundation of beauty, so to speak. So it's always the same determinations, but always more concrete, more rich, etc., etc. I still have 3 pages, but I will go to the end of this video. And Hegel says the seed is the flower an sich, the flower in itself, and all things, alle Dinge, are an sich, but their process consists in developing themselves, in making themselves manifest. And that's how we, through the development of the Ding and of the thing, it develops properties. That's why things have properties. Because das Ding, so the thing, is a reflection in under us, a reflection in otherness. It has a determined and it is a determined and concrete thing. That's why things have properties. And I illustrated this with flowers. I will get a little closer. Here, these flowers. They are things in a sense that they are various flowers with various properties. They smell differently, they have a different colors, a different texture, a different structure. So they are etwas in a sense that they have a different quantitative determination, the size, the measure, etc. But they are also things, Ding, namely that they have various properties. Smell, taste, you don't have to taste the flower, but they do, a touch, a smoothness, an appearance, etc., etc. So that's why I bought flowers for this video, to illustrate. So we, in the realm of logic, there is no physical nature yet, but already we have the conceptual determinations of a thing and its properties. And the reason why the world has properties is because in the mind of God, there are properties. And we live within God and we experience the properties of God. Yeah. Which can be more or less pleasant, but yeah. And then, something is through its quality, something, not a thing, something is through its quality, but a thing can exist, a thing, das Ding, exists. So here's the vocabulary is important. I will take a little bit more time, but it's really important. Because it's an entire conceptual determination. And if you understand this, basically, you understand, I would say, you do not understand the whole of Hegel, but if I wanted to make a joke, I'd say, you understand the essential about Hegel. That's pretty smart. So, something is through its qualities, something is through its qualities, and something being and qualities are determinations of being. And now we have the thing exists through its properties, or things exist. Things exist through properties. Things are a determination of essence, existence is a determination of essence, and properties is a determination of essence. So here we have being, here we have essence. So the vocabulary is very important. And I will take another another illustration. I'm sorry, I will just get something. To illustrate. I'll get a little closer. Here we have, I don't know, I have not checked how this is called in English. We have a difference of quality. These are qualitative differences, but here the thing, I don't know how it's called in English, courgette, I don't know how you call this in English. Here it's mashed, so to speak. So this is that with the in a different way, but the properties have changed. As you can see, the texture and probably the taste is different, but it has changed its properties, but it has remained what it is. It's the same vegetable. And here we have another illustration. So the properties of this and that are different, but the thing, namely the vegetable, is the same. And the taste is different, the texture, the smell. So it can be changed without losing its essence. That's an illustration. Also, a very famous illustration in the history of philosophy was made, I think, by Descartes, who used to burn a candle to ask himself metaphysical question: if I burn a candle, at some moment the wax will melt and the properties of the thing will change. But the question that Descartes asked himself is, I made an illustration. This is melted wax. As you can see, this is the result of this. The color has changed, the texture has changed, the smell has changed, the physical properties have changed, the physical appearance has changed, but it is the same thing. This and this stain, it's not a stain, it's on the paper, they are the same thing with different properties. And the question that Descartes asked himself is precisely, are they the same thing, and in what sense? That's a metaphysical question. And also, I will make a joke. I did not plan on making a joke, but I discovered that I made an unconscious joke while making this video. There are flowers, a candle, and Emma Watson, and I bought a suit. So that's a very romantic meeting, but unfortunately that's not the real Emma Watson. And if you want to know what is reality, actuality, Dasein, existence, you have to study Hegel's logic. So it's just the image of Emma Watson, but yeah. And I wrote also, happy were the days when all I had to burn in order to teach philosophy were candles, because in the future I may burn more than just candles, but yeah. So the properties are identical with themselves, they are autonomous, because they can be changed and the thing doesn't change, so they are freed from their being tied, that's the expressions, they are freed or free from their being tied, from the fact of being tied or attached to the thing, so they consist in what Hegel calls Materien to be matters, not matter, but matters or materials or stuff. Here that's a kind of weird logical property, logical determination. So yeah, because the properties of a thing are independent from the thinghood or the thingness or the concept of the thing. They are one with the thing, but at the same time they have a kind of independence, so there's a contradiction, and that's what produces Materien. And matter, here we have matter, Materie in German, matter is reflection in other, it is undetermined, it is the presence, the Dasein of the Dingheit. Here we are entering a very complex, I will write in German, the video will be very long, but it's a very important topic, so it's worth the time because it's fundamental. If I wanted to make a philosophical joke, I will write the sentence in German because, yeah. So, Materie ist die Daseiende Daseiende Dingheit. So, matter is the presence of the thinghood, thingness, so to speak. Yeah. I wrote that German metaphysicians deduce the existence of matter. So, matter, the material world, comes out of the mind of a German metaphysician, and that the Anglo-Saxons struggle to understand this, that matter can be produced by the mind of a German. It's complete nonsense for the typical Anglo-Saxon thinker, but I don't blame them. It's kind of difficult to understand. So yeah, the thing consists in its properties, in its materials or its stuff. So it has, it is reflected into itself, and does not, the thing has not its essence in itself, but in its matters. So I will make we have das Ding and die Materien, which were the properties but now have turned into Materien. So it consists in the other of itself, and that's the reason why these Materien become Materie, which is matter, which is the unity, because all the Materien, all the stuff, are one immediate unity of existence, which is independent from the determinacy. So that's why matter is identical to itself. And when I prepared the video, I wrote, Hegel is a genius. That's absolutely brilliant. The logical development is pure genius. So this is a bestimmungslos Materie, so matter is without determination, so it's identical to itself, and the Verschiedenheit, the distinction, the diversity, which must be included within matter, is the difference. So here, let us assume that we have matter, which is now unity. It has to be formed, shaped, structured, differentiated. It has to be formed or informed to structure the matter, and I will illustrate with an example from religion. In Greek mythology, it was said that in the beginning there was the primordial chaos, the undifferentiated mass, and that God, in the Greek view, did not create the world, but shaped the world. It structured the world. That's why Plato talks about the demiurge, the demiurgos, namely not the architect, but the craftsman. In the Greek view, God is not the creator, he is the craftsman which shapes and structures the primordial, chaotic, undifferentiated chaos. And what I am trying to do with cultural Hegelianism is to bring back order in the realm of thought into the world by re-establishing the importance of the categories. And now we have the development of das Ding, so the thing, which consists in matter and form. And a thing is something which has a matter and a form. And those who are familiar with Aristotelian metaphysics, Aristotle distinguished four causes: efficient causes, which is kind of the zureichend Grund, but we will see the cause later. So the efficient cause, what brings forth something, this is what the modern physicists believe in, that there are only efficient causes. The reason why I made this video is the only cause in the view of these scientists, but Aristotle distinguished also the material cause, the formal cause, and the end purpose, the final cause. And here, in the logical process, Hegel brings forth the cause, which are not called cause, but the Reflexionsbestimmungen of matter and form, and later we bring the determination of cause and of purpose in the sphere of concept. So that's why speculative logic includes within itself the totality of metaphysics. Yeah, and that's where the categories of Aristotle are showed in their bringing forth out of the logical process. And to illustrate, we are all one. Every human being, all human beings are one because they are all quantitative determinations of the universal quantum field. So the matter is the quantum field and the form is the quantitative determination that each individual human, but also each existing thing in the universe takes. So I am a manifestation of the universal quantum field, and so are you. So in a sense, we are united by quantum physics. But I have spent a very long time trying to show you that we are united by much more than quantum physics, but yeah. So matter is considered to be positive, undetermined existence, and the in-sich sein, the reflection in other, is the totality of form. And here we have, yes, the opposition between matter and form. And I have drawn, I will conclude on this because it's almost over. I have taken pictures. This is an attractive man in the eyes of most women, and homosexual men as well, because he has a very well shaped body. We can see his muscles, so he's in good shape. We can see the form. He has shaped his body through exercise and training. And this is why it is attractive to women, men who are muscular. It's not a story of Darwinian evolution because strong men were more capable of gaining resources. It can also be interpreted in this way, but the real truth is that it is the image, the manifestation, the existence of logical determination. This is a well-ordered, well-structured, well-shaped, well-formed body. So that's why it is attractive to women. And I took another example. Here is a woman with a well-shaped body, and the shape of the body is attractive to men because the shapes are attractive. And what makes men or women attractive or unattractive, which are sexual, erotic determinations which derive from logic, it's attraction, repulsion, is the shape of their body in the physical realm. A man who has a fat belly, it's matter without form. It is an excess of measure. So it will not be attractive. It can have other qualities. It can have charisma, intelligence, humor, strength, will, ambition, whatever. But from a strictly physical standpoint, a man with a large and fat body will not be attractive. And a woman who is too large or too thin will not be attractive either. So what humans experience as physical attraction in a realm of sexuality, although it's not necessarily sexual, it can be erotic or sensual, but it's just the manifestation of the mind of God. And here we have to go back to Plato, but actually we don't need to if you have followed the logical development. It's just that a well-shaped body is a body in which the matter and the form are in perfect harmony. That's why women are attracted by these kind of pictures, and that's why men in the Western world try to imitate this. But actually the truth is that the mind has more truth than the body. So yeah. And I conclude by saying that then we have, with the division, or the division and the unity, because the opposites are in unity, the appearance of precisely Erscheinung, which is appearance or phenomenon. That's how the thing becomes phenomenal, becomes manifest, and that's how the first part is concluded, namely that the essence becomes phenomenal, namely becomes manifest. And the realm of phenomena is the manifestation of God, in a way. That's why nature is God made manifest in the realm of phenomena. And yeah, I will conclude here. The video was very long, but it's really important. And hopefully I kind of clarified, because it is said that it is the most difficult part of logic, but now I have made this intelligible, hopefully.